A millionaire gave $950 to a humble farm woman to pay off her debt to a loan shark and save her life. The next morning, he was paralyzed when he saw her at the grave of his beloved, who died 26 years ago. The rain drummed against the windshield as William Crawford pulled his black Mercedes into the familiar gravel parking lot of Graceland Cemetery. 26 years, 4 months, and 17 days. He didn't need to count anymore. The numbers were burned into his soul like a brand that never stopped hurting. Every Tuesday at 3 p.m., rain or shine, he made this pilgrimage. His secretary knew better than to schedule anything during this sacred hour. His business partners had learned not to ask questions about his weekly disappearances. Even his closest friends had stopped trying to understand why a man worth over $50 million would spend every Tuesday afternoon talking to a gravestone. But they didn't know Emily. William stepped out of the car, his expensive Italian leather shoes crunching on the wet gravel. At 52, he was still handsome in that distinguished way that money and good genetics could provide. Silver threaded through his dark hair, and lines around his green eyes spoke of too many sleepless nights and too much whiskey. He'd been told he looked like a man who'd seen too much, felt too much, lost too much. They weren't wrong. The October wind cut through his wool coat as he walked the familiar path. Section 14, Plot 247. He could find it blindfolded. Had probably done so in his dreams more times than he cared to count. The headstone was simple. Emily had never been one for flashy displays. Emily Rose Prescott, beloved daughter, 1972-1998. Love never dies. He'd chosen those words himself. The funeral director had suggested something more traditional, but William knew Emily would have laughed at anything too formal. She'd always said love was the only thing that mattered, the only thing that lasted. He'd believed her then. Hell, he still believed her now, even if that belief felt more like torture than comfort. "Hey, sweetheart," he whispered, kneeling beside the grave, the wet grass soaked through his expensive slacks. But he didn't care. Nothing about his appearance mattered when he was here with her. "I brought your favorites." He pulled out a bouquet of white roses and baby's breath, the same flowers he'd planned to give her on their wedding day. 26 years of white roses, 52 bouquets a year, never missing a Tuesday. The florist probably thought he was crazy, but she'd stopped asking questions when he'd prepaid for 5 years' worth of flowers. "I dreamed about you again last night," he continued, his voice barely audible above the wind. "We were at the lake house, remember? You were wearing that blue sundress you loved so much, the one with the tiny flowers. You were laughing about something, probably one of my terrible jokes. God, I miss your laugh, Em. I miss everything about you." The memories hit him like they always did, sudden, overwhelming, and sharp enough to steal his breath. Emily spinning in their tiny apartment, her engagement ring catching the light as she showed it off to her sister. Emily curled up on his couch, reading to him from one of her romance novels, while he pretended to be annoyed but secretly loved every minute. Emily in his arms, whispering about their future, about the children they'd have, about growing old together. All of it gone in 3 days. 3 days before their wedding. She'd vanished like smoke. William's hands trembled as he arranged the flowers. Even now, after all these years, he could barely think about those final days without feeling like he was drowning. The police had found her car abandoned by the river, her purse still inside. No signs of struggle. For 6 days. He'd torn the city apart looking for her, barely eating, barely sleeping, calling in every favor he had. Then they'd found her body. The official report had been neat and clean. Suicide by drowning. The investigating officer, a tired-looking detective named Martinez, had explained it with the kind of detached professionalism that comes from seeing too much tragedy. Emily Prescott, they said, had been overwhelmed by the pressure of marrying into wealth. She'd been a simple bookkeeper from a working-class family, and the scrutiny that came with being engaged to William Crawford had been too much for her to handle. "Happens more than you'd think," Martinez had said, his words hitting William like physical blows. "People get in over their heads, feel like they're living someone else's life. Sometimes they just break." But William had never believed it, not for a second. Emily hadn't been fragile. She'd been the strongest person he'd ever known. Fierce and independent and completely unimpressed by his money. She'd teased him about his fancy cars and expensive suits, had made him eat pizza off paper plates and reminded him what it felt like to be human instead of just rich. She'd loved him for who he was, not what he had. She wouldn't have given up. She wouldn't have left him. "I should have protected you," he whispered to the headstone, the words he'd spoken 1,000 times before. "I should have seen it coming. I should have known someone would try to hurt you because of me." The guilt was a living thing inside his chest, growing stronger with each passing year instead of weaker. He'd hired the best private investigators money could buy, had pushed them to dig deeper into Emily's disappearance, but without new evidence, there was only so much they could do. The case had gone cold, the trail had grown stale, and eventually, even the most persistent investigators had to admit defeat. Everyone had moved on, everyone except William. He'd thrown himself into his business empire, turning Crawford Industries into a multi-billion-dollar corporation. He'd donated millions to charity, had buildings named after him, had been featured on magazine covers as one of America's most eligible bachelors. But none of it mattered. None of it filled the Emily-shaped hole in his life. "I saw Detective Martinez last month," William said, brushing a fallen leaf from the headstone. "He's retiring, 30 years on the force. He still asks about you sometimes. Still says he's sorry they couldn't give me the answers I needed. I think he knows, Em. I think he knows there was more to it than they ever found." The wind picked up, scattering the leaves around the grave. William pulled his coat tighter, but he didn't leave. He never left early. These Tuesday afternoons were his lifeline, his only connection to the woman who'd made him believe in love, in happiness, in a future worth having. "I met someone today," he said suddenly, surprising himself. He hadn't planned to talk about the young woman from the market, but something about her had stuck with him. This girl, maybe 25, 26, she was in trouble, really bad trouble. And when I looked at her, he paused, struggling to find the words. "I don't know. There was something about her, something that reminded me of you." It wasn't just the way she'd looked, though God knew she'd had Emily's eyes, that same warm brown that could go from sparkling with laughter to fierce with determination in the space of a heartbeat. It was something deeper, something in the way she'd carried herself even when she was begging for help. Pride mixed with desperation, strength wrapped in vulnerability. "I helped her," William continued, "gave her the money she needed. I don't even know her name, but I couldn't walk away. You would have done the same thing. Wouldn't you? You never could stand to see someone hurting." The rain began to fall harder, but William didn't move. He'd sat through thunderstorms and blizzards, had weathered every kind of weather Chicago could throw at him. A little rain wasn't going to drive him away from Emily now. "I promise you, sweetheart," he said, his voice steady despite the emotion threatening to overwhelm him. "I'm going to find out what really happened to you. I'm going to find who did this to us, and when I do." He left the threat unfinished, but the steel in his voice spoke volumes. 26 years of grief had forged something unbreakable in William Crawford. 26 years of unanswered questions had created a man who would never stop searching for the truth. And somewhere in the depths of his broken heart, he knew Emily was still with him, still guiding him, still loving him. Across the impossible distance between life and death, he just had to be patient enough to listen. 3 days after his visit to Emily's grave, William found himself driving through the outskirts of Chicago on business he could have easily delegated. Crawford Industries was looking to acquire a small logistics company, and normally, he'd send his VP of acquisitions to handle the preliminary negotiations. But something had been nagging at him since Tuesday, and restlessness he couldn't quite shake. Maybe it was the approaching anniversary. October 15th would mark exactly 26 years since Emily's death. Or maybe it was that strange encounter he'd mentioned to Emily's headstone, the young woman who'd reminded him so powerfully of his lost love. Either way, he'd needed to get out of his glass tower downtown and drive somewhere. Anywhere. That might quiet the noise in his head. The October sky was heavy with storm clouds, the kind of gray that promised a downpour before evening. William had always loved autumn in Illinois, the way the leaves turned brilliant colors before letting go, the crisp air that made everything feel possible again. Emily had loved autumn too. They'd planned an October wedding specifically because she'd wanted to walk down the aisle surrounded by fall colors. He was thinking about that, about the wedding that never happened, the October that had destroyed everything, when he turned onto Main Street in the small town of Millbrook. The place looked like something out of a Norman Rockwell painting. Tree-lined streets, a courthouse with a clock tower, mom-and-pop shops that somehow survived despite the Walmart 20 miles away. William slowed his Mercedes as he approached the town square, where a small farmer's market was winding down for the day. A few vendors were packing up their booths, and scattered customers browsed the remaining produce. It was exactly the kind of scene Emily would have loved. Authentic, unpretentious, real, in a way that his world of boardrooms and charity galas never quite managed to be. That's when he saw her. The young woman from Tuesday was kneeling in the town square, and William's heart nearly stopped. She was wearing the same worn jeans and faded blue sweater, her dark hair falling around her face as she looked up at a man towering over her. But it wasn't just her presence that made William slam on his brakes. It was the scene unfolding before him. Rain had started to fall. Light at first, but quickly growing heavier. The few remaining market-goers hurried toward their cars. But the young woman remained on her knees in the growing puddle, her hands clasped together in a gesture that looked heartbreakingly like prayer. "Please, Mr. Malone," her voice carried across the nearly empty square. "I just need a little more time. My husband only died 6 months ago, and I'm still trying to figure everything out." William's blood turned to ice at the name. Victor Malone. He knew that name, had known it for 26 years. Malone had been a small-time enforcer back when Emily died, the kind of guy who collected debts and intimidated witnesses for whoever would pay him. The police had questioned him about Emily's disappearance. William had made sure of that. But nothing had stuck. Malone had an alibi. Witnesses who swore he was nowhere near Emily the night she vanished. But William had never believed it. There had been something in Malone's eyes during those police interviews. Something cold and calculating that had made William's skin crawl. And now, 26 years later, here was the son of a bitch, terrorizing another young woman. "Time's up, sweetheart," Malone said, his voice dripping with false sympathy. He was older now, probably in his 50s, with the kind of muscle that came from decades of physical intimidation. His expensive suit and gold watch suggested he'd moved up in the world since Emily's time. "You had 6 months to get my money together. $950 isn't exactly a fortune." I know," the woman said, her voice breaking. "But the farm, it's all I have left of my mother. Carmen raised me there, and I can't. I won't lose it, please. Just give me another month. Your mother's dead, honey, and your husband's dead too, which means this debt falls to you." Malone crouched down, getting uncomfortably close to her face. "I'm a reasonable man, but I'm also a businessman. You got 2 choices. Find my money by Friday, or I start foreclosure proceedings on that little farm of yours." The rain was coming down harder now, turning the woman's tears invisible as they mixed with the water streaming down her face. But William could see her shoulders shaking, could hear the desperation in her voice when she spoke again. "That farm is all I have left," she whispered. "It's where my mother taught me to garden, where she told me stories about my real parents. If I lose it, I lose everything that matters." Something in those words hit William like a physical blow. The way she said real parents suggested she'd been adopted. Just like Emily had been. Emily had grown up with her aunt after her parents died in a car accident when she was 5. She'd always wondered about them, always felt like a piece of her identity was missing. "That's real touching," Malone said, standing up and brushing rain from his suit. "But I don't run a charity." "Friday, sweetheart. Find the money or lose the farm. Your choice." That's when the woman did something that nearly brought William to his knees. She reached up and touched something at her throat, a delicate chain that caught the light despite the gloom. Her fingers worried the pendant nervously, exactly the way Emily used to fidget with her jewelry when she was scared or upset. "My mother always said that good people show up when you need them most," she said, more to herself than to Malone. "She said angels walk among us, and they help when everything seems hopeless." Malone laughed. A sound like gravel in a blender. "Well then, you better start praying for a miracle, because angels don't pay debts." He started to walk away, but something in William snapped. Before he could think about what he was doing, he was out of his car and striding across the wet pavement toward them. 26 years of grief and rage and helplessness crystallized into a single moment of absolute clarity. "Excuse me?" William called out. his voice carrying the kind of authority that came from decades of commanding boardrooms. "Is there a problem here?" Malone turned, his expression shifting from irritation to calculating interest when he took in William's expensive clothes and car. "No problem. Friend, just a private business matter." William ignored him completely, focusing instead on the young woman still kneeling in the rain. Up close, the resemblance to Emily was even more striking. Same warm brown eyes, same delicate bone structure, same stubborn set to her jaw that suggested she'd fight until her last breath. "Miss," William said gently, extending his hand to help her up. "Why don't you tell me what this is about?" She looked up at him with such gratitude and hope that William felt his heart crack open all over again. My husband borrowed money before he died, $950. I've been trying to pay it back, but the farm barely makes enough to cover expenses, and I can't afford to lose it. It's all I have left of my mother." Without hesitation, William reached into his jacket and pulled out his wallet. He counted out $100 bills and held them out to Malone, who was watching the exchange with barely concealed greed. "Here's $1,000, William said calmly. "That covers the debt plus interest. We're done here." Well, Malone said, pocketing the money with a smile that never reached his eyes. "Looks like you found yourself an angel after all, sweetheart. How convenient." There was something in the way Malone said it, some undercurrent of threat that made William's protective instincts flare. "I think we're finished here," he said, his voice carrying just enough edge to make his meaning clear. Malone studied William for a long moment, his gaze lingering on the expensive watch, the tailored suit, the general air of wealth and power. "Sure, friend. Business is business." He tipped an imaginary hat to the young woman. "Pleasure doing business with you, Mrs. Bishop. Try to stay out of debt in the future." As Malone walked away, William turned his attention back to the woman. Mrs. Bishop, apparently. She was staring at him with tears streaming down her face, one hand still clutched around that pendant at her throat. "I can't believe you just did that," she whispered. "I don't even know your name. And why would you help a complete stranger?" William found himself studying her face, memorizing the curve of her cheek, the way her lashes looked dark with rain. "Sometimes we help people because we can," he said simply, "and sometimes because we should have helped someone else a long time ago." She reached out impulsively and grabbed his hand, squeezing it tight. "God bless you, sir. Truly. May the angels protect your kindness." Her fingers found that pendant again, and William caught a glimpse of it, a small, heart-shaped locket on a delicate gold chain. His world tilted. 26 years ago, he'd given Emily a pendant just like that, a heart-shaped locket on a gold chain, with their initials engraved inside. It had been his engagement gift to her, something she could wear close to her heart until their wedding day. The police had never found it with her body, had assumed it had been lost in the river, but here it was, hanging around the neck of a stranger who looked exactly like the woman he'd lost. "That's a beautiful necklace," William managed, his voice sounding strange to his own ears. Mrs. Bishop's hand flew to her throat protectively. "It was my mother's, Carmen. The only thing she left me about my birth parents. She said it was all she knew about where I came from." The rain continued to fall around them, but William barely felt it. His mind was racing, trying to process what he was seeing, what he was hearing. A young woman who looked like Emily, wearing Emily's necklace, talking about adoption and missing parents. It was impossible. It had to be coincidence. But as he stood there in the rain, looking into eyes that seemed achingly familiar, William felt something shift inside his chest. For the first time in 26 years, he felt something other than grief. He felt hope. October 15th, 1998. 26 years earlier, Emily Prescott hummed softly as she organized the financial files spread across her desk at Whitaker and Associates. The accounting firm stayed quiet after hours, just the way she liked it. No ringing phones, no chattering coworkers, just her and the numbers that always made perfect sense. Unlike wedding planning, which seemed to grow more complicated by the day. 3 days. In 3 days, she'd be Mrs. William Crawford, walking down the aisle in her grandmother's dress, while autumn leaves danced outside the church windows. The thought should have filled her with pure joy. But lately, something had been nagging at the edges of her happiness. It was the files, specifically, the ones she'd discovered 2 weeks ago while organizing George Whitaker's personal accounts. Emily pulled the manila folder closer, her engagement ring catching the fluorescent light as she flipped through the documents again. On the surface, everything looked legitimate. Charitable donations, political contributions, investment portfolios. But Emily had been doing books for 5 years, and she knew when numbers didn't add up. The charitable donations were going to organizations that didn't seem to exist. She'd called 3 of them pretending to be a potential donor, only to find disconnected phone lines and addresses that led to empty lots. The investment portfolios showed massive returns on companies she'd never heard of, with transaction patterns that looked more like money laundering than legitimate business. And then there were the names that made her stomach turn cold. Victor Malone was listed as a security consultant, receiving regular payments of $50,000 a month. Emily knew that name from the police reports she'd been hearing about around town. Drug busts, missing persons cases, witnesses who suddenly changed their testimonies. Her friend Maria's cousin had borrowed money from Malone and ended up in the hospital when he couldn't pay. But the worst part was the connection she'd found to the Salazar cartel. George Whitaker, the respected city councilman who gave speeches about family values and community safety, was washing money for one of the most dangerous criminal organizations on the West Coast. Emily's hands trembled as she photographed the documents with her small digital camera. William had bought it for her birthday, laughing about how she wanted to capture every moment of their life together. She never imagined she'd be using it to document evidence of crimes that could get her killed. She was just finishing when she heard the elevator ding in the hallway. Emily's blood turned to ice. The building should have been empty. She'd watched the last security guard leave an hour ago, moving quickly. She shoved the documents back into their folder and slipped it into her briefcase. Her heart hammered against her ribs as footsteps echoed in the corridor, coming closer. "Miss Prescott." The voice made her skin crawl. Victor Malone stepped into the doorway, his bulk filling the frame. "Working late, I see." "Mr. Malone," Emily managed, forcing her voice to stay steady. "I was just finishing up some filing for Mr. Whitaker. I didn't know anyone else was here." Malone's eyes swept the room, taking in her briefcase, the scattered papers on her desk, the nervous way she clutched her purse. "Funny thing about working late," he said, stepping into the office. "Sometimes people see things they shouldn't see, learn things they shouldn't learn." "I don't know what you mean," Emily said, but even she could hear the tremor in her voice. "Smart girl like you, I think you know exactly what I mean." Malone moved closer, and Emily caught the scent of expensive cologne mixed with something darker, more dangerous. "See, Mr. Whitaker is very particular about his privacy, very particular about making sure his business stays his business." Emily's hand moved instinctively to the pendant at her throat. William's engagement gift, the small heart-shaped locket, had become her talisman, something to touch when she needed to feel brave. "I'm just an accountant, Mr. Malone. I don't get involved in anything that's not my business." "Course you don't," Malone said, but his smile was all teeth and no warmth. "Still, Mr. Whitaker would feel a lot better if he knew for certain that his files were secure. Maybe you and I should take a little ride, have a conversation about professional discretion." "I have to get home," Emily said quickly. "William is expecting me for dinner." The mention of William's name made something shift in Malone's expression. "Ah yes, the famous William Crawford. Rich boy's got himself a working-class fiancé. How romantic?" His voice dripped with disdain. "You know, some people might say you're marrying above your station, sweetheart. Might say a girl from your background doesn't belong in his world." "That's enough," Emily said, standing up and grabbing her briefcase. "I need to leave now." But Malone stepped between her and the door, his presence filling the small office like a toxic cloud. "See, here's the thing about marrying rich boys, honey. Sometimes their money makes them targets. Sometimes people who care about them get hurt because of who they associate with." The threat was crystal clear, and Emily felt her knees go weak. But somewhere deep inside, the same stubbornness that had gotten her through college on scholarships and helped her build a career from nothing flared to life. "You can't threaten me," she said, lifting her chin. "I'll go to the police. I'll tell them everything." Malone laughed, the sound echoing off the office walls. "Will you now? And what exactly will you tell them? That you stole confidential files from your employer? That you violated attorney-client privilege? That you committed corporate espionage?" He leaned closer, his voice dropping to a whisper. "Who do you think they'll believe? Sweetie, the respected city councilman, Or the desperate girl trying to marry her way out of poverty? Emily's mind raced. He was right. She had stolen the files, had violated every principle of professional conduct, but the evidence was damning. Proof of crimes that were destroying her community. She had to find a way to expose the truth, without destroying herself in the process. "What do you want?" she asked quietly. Smart question. Malone straightened his tie, looking pleased with himself. "Mr. Whitaker wants those files back, all of them, and he wants your word that this little misunderstanding never happened." "And if I refuse?" Malone's smile turned predatory. "Well, that would be unfortunate for you, for your fiancé, for anyone you might have shared your concerns with." He paused, letting the implication sink in. "Mr. Whitaker is a powerful man, Miss Prescott. He has friends in the police department, friends in the DA's office, friends in places you can't even imagine. And I'm very good at making problems disappear." Emily's hand went to her pendant again, thinking of William, of their wedding in 3 days, of the life they'd planned together. But she also thought about Maria's cousin in the hospital, about the families torn apart by drugs, about the justice that would never come if men like George Whitaker were allowed to operate in the shadows. "I need time to think," she said finally. "Time's up, sweetheart. Decision time is now." That's when Emily made the choice that would seal her fate. Instead of handing over the briefcase, she clutched it tighter to her chest and tried to push past Malone toward the door. "Wrong choice," he said sadly. He said, grabbing her arm with enough force to leave bruises. "Mr. Whitaker really hoped you'd be reasonable." The chloroform-soaked cloth came out of nowhere, clamping over her nose and mouth before she could scream. Emily fought desperately, her briefcase falling to the floor as she clawed at Malone's hands. The last thing she saw before the darkness claimed her was her engagement ring glinting under the fluorescent lights, William's symbol of love and promise of forever. When she woke up, she was in hell. The abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of the city became her prison for the next 7 months. Malone had been thorough. No windows, one door with multiple locks, concrete walls that muffled sound. Emily lost track of time quickly, marking days by the meals Malone brought her and the slow progression of her pregnancy. Because that was Victor Malone's insurance policy, Emily Prescott wasn't just a witness to be silenced. She was carrying William Crawford's child. And that baby represented leverage that could last for years. "You're gonna have that baby," Malone told her during one of his visits. "And then we're gonna see just how much your rich boyfriend values family. Maybe he pays to keep you quiet. Maybe he pays to keep the kids safe. Either way, Mr. Whitaker wins." Emily endured 7 months of captivity, 7 months of minimal food and medical care, 7 months of terror and isolation. But she also spent 7 months planning, thinking, preparing for the moment when she could escape and expose the truth. The baby came early, during a thunderstorm that shook the warehouse walls. Emily delivered her daughter alone, with no help except her own determination, and the medical knowledge she'd gained from library books before her kidnapping. When Malone arrived the next morning to find Emily, weak but alive, and a healthy baby girl crying in her arms, his plans shifted once again. "Can't have you both," he said matter-of-factly. "Baby's evidence. But babies can't testify. You, on the other hand." He trailed off, but Emily understood. She had perhaps an hour left to live, an hour to hold her daughter, to whisper promises and prayers and love into tiny ears that might never remember her voice. When Malone returned with Carmen Bishop, a desperate woman who'd been trying to have children for years, Emily made her final act of defiance. As Carmen took the baby with tears streaming down her face, Emily pressed her heart-shaped pendant into the blanket. "Tell her," Emily whispered to Carmen. "Tell her that her parents loved her more than life itself. Tell her that love never dies." That night, Victor Malone drugged Emily and threw her into the Chicago River, staging the suicide that would close the case forever. But he never found the pendant, never knew that Emily had left a piece of evidence. A trail of breadcrumbs that might someday lead her daughter home. 26 years later, that pendant hung around Lily Bishop's neck, waiting for destiny to complete the circle that love had begun. William couldn't sleep. He'd been lying in his king-sized bed for 3 hours, staring at the ceiling of his penthouse apartment, while Chicago's skyline glittered beyond his floor-to-ceiling windows. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw her face. Mrs. Bishop kneeling in the rain, her fingers wrapped around that impossible pendant. It couldn't be Emily's necklace. The odds were astronomical, the coincidence too perfect to be real. But William had memorized every detail of that heart-shaped locket during the months he'd searched for it. He'd described it to police, to private investigators, to anyone who would listen. Small, delicate, 18-karat gold with a barely visible engraving of intertwined initials on the back, WC plus EP at 4 a.m. He gave up on sleep and drove back to Millbrook. The town looked different in the early morning light, quieter and somehow more fragile. William parked across from the town square where yesterday's encounter had taken place, trying to make sense of the emotions churning in his chest. Hope was dangerous. He'd learned that lesson 26 years ago when hope had turned to despair in the space of a phone call. But this felt different. This felt like destiny, finally deciding to show its hand. He was still sitting in his car when he saw movement near the old church at the end of Main Street. A familiar figure in jeans and a worn cardigan was walking slowly along the sidewalk, carrying a small bouquet of wildflowers. Even from a distance, William recognized her. Mrs. Bishop, heading somewhere with purpose. Without really thinking about it, William started his car and followed at a distance. The Millbrook Cemetery sat on a hill overlooking the town, its wrought iron gates standing open to welcome the early morning visitors. William watched as Mrs. Bishop walked through the entrance and disappeared among the headstones. His heart was hammering against his ribs as he parked and followed her path on foot. What he found nearly brought him to his knees. Mrs. Bishop was kneeling beside a grave just 2 rows over from where Emily's headstone stood. From his position behind a large oak tree, William could see Emily's marker clearly, the simple granite stone he'd chosen, the flowers he'd left just days ago still fresh in their vase. But Mrs. Bishop was focused entirely on the grave in front of her, her shoulders shaking with quiet sobs as she arranged the wildflowers she'd brought. "I miss you so much, Carmen," she whispered, her voice carrying in the still morning air. "I know you said I'd understand everything someday, but I'm more confused than ever. Yesterday, this man appeared like an angel when I needed help most, just like you always said would happen." William crept closer, staying hidden behind the tree line but close enough to read the headstone. Carmen Maria Bishop, beloved mother, 1952-2016. Love makes a family. He helped me save the farm, Mrs. Bishop continued, pulling something from her pocket. An envelope, yellowed with age. And when I looked at him, I felt, I don't know how to explain it, like I'd been waiting my whole life to meet him. Like maybe you sent him to me. She touched the pendant at her throat, the gesture so achingly familiar that William had to grip the tree trunk to keep from crying out. "You left me this letter, Carmen. You said to open it only when destiny brought answers. But I'm scared." Her voice broke on the last word. "What if the answers aren't what I want to hear? What if knowing the truth makes everything worse?" William watched as she held the envelope up to the morning light, as if she could divine its contents through the paper. His mind was racing, connecting dots that seemed impossible, but felt absolutely right. An adopted daughter, a mother who died 7 years ago, a pendant that looked exactly like Emily's, and now a letter that might hold answers. "The man who helped me," Mrs. Bishop said suddenly. There was something about his eyes. They looked so sad, Carmen, like he'd lost something precious and never found it again. Like maybe he understands what it feels like to have pieces of yourself missing. Those words hit William like a physical blow. She'd seen his grief, recognized the hollow spaces that Emily's death had carved out of his soul. Somehow, this stranger had looked at him and understood the shape of his brokenness. "I think I'm going to open it," she whispered to the headstone. "I think maybe it's time." William held his breath as Mrs. Bishop's trembling fingers tore open the envelope. She unfolded several sheets of paper, her eyes scanning the contents. At first, her expression was confused, then shocked, then devastated. By the time she finished reading, tears were streaming down her face. "Oh, Carmen," she sobbed. "Oh God, why didn't you tell me?" She was crying so hard now that William couldn't make out her words. But then she did something that stopped his heart entirely. She stood up and walked directly to Emily's grave. William pressed himself against the tree, certain she would see him. But Mrs. Bishop was lost in her own world of revelation and grief. She knelt beside Emily's headstone, her letter clutched in one hand while she traced the engraved name with the other. "Emily Rose Prescott," she read aloud. 1972-1998. Her voice was wondering, almost reverent. "Carmen wrote about you," she said. "She said you were my mother, that you died giving birth to me." William's world tilted off its axis. The words seemed to echo in the morning air, impossible and perfect and devastating all at once. Mrs. Bishop, this young woman who looked like Emily, who wore Emily's pendant, who'd appeared in his life when he needed hope most, was talking about Emily as her mother. "She said a man brought me to her when I was just days old," Mrs. Bishop continued, her voice stronger now. "Said you died in childbirth and the family couldn't care for me. But the way Carmen wrote about it, something was wrong. Something wasn't true." She pulled out a photograph from the letter, holding it up to compare with Emily's headstone. "This picture, it's you, isn't it? You're alive in this picture. Very much alive." William couldn't see the photograph from his hiding place, but he didn't need to. He could imagine Emily's face, the way she'd looked in those final weeks before the wedding, beautiful and glowing, and completely unaware that someone was planning to destroy everything they'd built together. "The pendant," Mrs. Bishop whispered, her fingers finding the chain at her throat. "Carmen said it was the only thing that came with me, the only clue about who I really am." She leaned closer to Emily's headstone, as if sharing a secret. "I've worn it every day of my life. It's the only connection I have to you." She sat back on her heels, the letter and photograph still clutched in her hands. "Carmen wrote that she tried to find out more about you, but the man who brought me was dangerous. He threatened her, told her to never ask questions. She was so scared, Emily. Scared for me, scared for herself. So she kept quiet and raised me as her own." William's hands were shaking now, his breath coming in short gasps. Everything was clicking into place. The timeline, the circumstances, the impossible coincidences that weren't coincidences at all. "But I need to know the truth," Mrs. Bishop said, her voice growing determined. "I need to know what really happened to you, and I think maybe that man who helped me yesterday might be able to help me find answers. There was something about him, something that felt like coming home." She stood up slowly, brushing dirt from her knees. "I'm going to find him, Emily. I'm going to ask him if he knew you. And maybe, if I'm really lucky, he'll help me figure out why someone lied about how you died." As she turned to leave, William made a decision that would change everything. Stepping out from behind the tree, he called softly, "Mrs. Bishop." She spun around, her eyes wide with shock. You're the man from yesterday. Why are you here?" William walked toward her slowly, his hands raised in a gesture of peace. "I come here every Tuesday," he said, his voice hoarse with emotion, "to visit someone I lost a long time ago." Her eyes followed his gaze to Emily's headstone, and William watched understanding dawn on her face like sunrise breaking over the horizon. "You knew her," she whispered. "You knew Emily." "I loved her," William said simply. "I was going to marry her, and 26 years ago, 3 days before our wedding, someone took her away from me." Mrs. Bishop's face went pale. "The letter," she said, holding up Carmen's words. It says, Emily died in 1998, that she was my mother. But that can't be right, because if you were going to marry her, then I would be your father," William finished quietly. The letter slipped from her fingers, scattering in the morning breeze, but neither of them moved to retrieve it. They stood there among the headstones, two broken people who'd been circling each other's pain for 26 years, finally close enough to touch the truth. "What's your name?" William asked gently. "Lily," she whispered. "Lily Bishop." William closed his eyes, remembering Emily's voice, her excitement when they'd talked about having children someday. "If we have a daughter, I want to name her Lily, like the flowers in my grandmother's garden." When he opened his eyes, Lily was staring at him with Emily's face, wearing Emily's pendant, carrying Emily's name for their unborn child. "Lily," he said, tasting the word, tasting 26 years of lost dreams and stolen moments. "Your mother wanted to name our daughter Lily." The pendant at her throat caught the morning sunlight, and for just a moment, William could swear he felt Emily's presence surrounding them both, guiding them toward the reunion she'd never lived to see. The silence stretched between them like a bridge. Neither was sure they could cross. Lily stared at William with Emily's eyes, while he struggled to process the impossible truth standing before him. Around them, The cemetery felt suspended in time, as if the very air was holding its breath. "I don't understand," Lily whispered finally. "If you were my mother's fiancé, if she died before your wedding, then how could I have been born? How could Carmen have raised me?" William's mind was racing, trying to piece together a puzzle that had tormented him for 26 years. "Show me the letter," he said gently. "Please, if we're going to understand what happened, we need to see everything Carmen wrote." With trembling hands, Lily gathered the scattered pages from the ground. Some had blown against Emily's headstone, and she retrieved them with a reverence that spoke to her growing understanding of who lay beneath the granite. They sat together on a nearby bench, the morning sun filtering through the oak trees, as Lily spread Carmen's letter between them. William's breath caught when he saw the first photograph. Emily, unmistakably pregnant, smiling nervously at the camera. She was wearing the blue sundress he'd dreamed about just days ago, the one with tiny flowers that she'd loved so much. "My God," he whispered, his fingers hovering over the image. "She was pregnant, she was carrying our child, and I never knew." Lily's voice was barely audible as she read from Carmen's letter. She says here that a man brought me to her house on a stormy night in July 1998. I was maybe a week old, tiny and crying. He told her my mother had died in childbirth and that the family couldn't keep me. She looked up at William. "But Emily died in October, didn't she? The headstone says October 15th. "That's when they found her body," William said, his voice tight with old pain. "But she disappeared 3 days before our wedding, October 12th. I spent 6 days looking for her before—" He couldn't finish the sentence. Lily turned the page, reading more of Carmen's careful handwriting. Carmen writes that the man was scary, dangerous looking. He paid her $10,000 in cash and told her never to ask questions about where I came from. He said if she ever tried to find out more, something terrible would happen to both of us. William felt ice forming in his veins. What did he look like? Did Carmen describe him? "Big man," she says. "Expensive clothes, but rough around the edges. Gold tooth, scar on his left hand." Lily's voice grew smaller as she read. "And a name, Victor something. Carmen only heard it once when he answered his phone. Victor Malone." The name came out like a curse. William's hands clenched into fists as 26 years of suspicion crystallized into certainty. "I knew it. I always knew that bastard was involved." "You know him?" Lily asked. And William saw fear creep into her expression. "He's the man who threatened you yesterday, the one demanding money for your husband's debt." William stood up abruptly, pacing in front of the bench. "He's been in my nightmares for 26 years. When Emily disappeared, the police questioned him. But he had an alibi. Witnesses who swore he was nowhere near her. But if he brought me to Carmen—" Lily's voice trailed off as she processed the implications. "Then Emily didn't die when they said she did. She was alive long enough to carry you to term, to give birth." William stopped pacing, turning to face her. "Which means everything they told me about her death was a lie." Lily pulled out another photograph, this one showing a young woman with kind eyes holding a baby. "This is Carmen with me. Probably taken a few weeks after I arrived," she wrote on the back. Lily's first smile. August 1998. Such a fighter, just like her mama must have been. William sat back down, his legs suddenly unsteady. August 1998. If Lily had been born in July and Emily disappeared in October, then she was held captive, he said quietly. For months, Emily was held somewhere, and someone made sure she stayed alive long enough to have the baby. "But why?" Lily asked. "Why would someone kidnap a pregnant woman and then give away her child?" "Insurance," William said grimly. "Or leverage. Emily must have discovered something important enough that they couldn't just kill her outright." He thought about the woman he'd loved, her sharp mind and unwavering sense of justice. She worked as an accountant. She would have had access to financial records, business dealings. Lily was quiet for a long moment, studying the photographs and rereading portions of Carmen's letter. When she spoke again, her voice was thoughtful. "Carmen mentioned something else here. She says she tried to research Emily's death after seeing a newspaper article about it. She says the timing didn't make sense. If Emily died in October but I was born in July, then the math was all wrong." "What else does she say?" "That she went to the library and found more articles about Emily's disappearance. There was speculation about suicide, about a young woman who couldn't handle marrying into wealth. Lily's voice grew angry. But Carmen didn't believe it. She says Emily looked too happy in the photograph that came with me, too much in love to give up. William felt his throat tighten. She was happy. We both were. We were planning our future, talking about children, about growing old together. The suicide story never made sense. There's more, Lily said, turning to the final page. Carmen writes that she kept everything. The clothes I was wearing when I arrived, the blanket I was wrapped in, even a receipt from a drugstore that was in the diaper bag. She hid everything in a safety deposit box at Millbrook Savings Bank. William's pulse quickened. Evidence. She kept evidence. The key is hidden in her jewelry box. Lily continued reading. She says I should only look for it if I ever learned the truth about my birth parents, if I ever found the courage to seek justice for what was done to them. They sat in silence for a moment, the weight of revelation settling around them like morning mist. Finally, William reached over and took Lily's hand, the same gesture of comfort he'd offered Emily countless times. I want you to know, he said carefully, that I don't expect anything from you. I know this is overwhelming, impossible to process. You've lived your whole life as Lily Bishop, Carmen's daughter. If you want to walk away right now, if you want to pretend this conversation never happened, I'll understand. Lily looked down at their joined hands, then up at his face. Do you really think I'm your daughter? I think you're Emily's daughter, William said. And Emily was the love of my life. If you're hers, then yes, I believe you're mine too. I need to know for sure, Lily said firmly. I need to know the truth about what happened to Emily, to my mother. And I think you need to know too. William nodded. There are tests we can do. DNA tests that will give us definitive answers, but even without tests. Looking at you is like looking at Emily. You have her eyes, her smile, even the way you gesture when you're thinking hard about something. What was she like? Lily asked suddenly. My mother. Tell me about her. William felt his heart crack open all over again. She was extraordinary, brilliant and kind and stubborn as hell when she believed in something. She grew up with nothing but made something beautiful of her life anyway. She saw the best in everyone, even when they couldn't see it in themselves. He paused, studying Lily's face. She would have loved you so much. You were the future she dreamed about, the family we were going to build together. Tears were streaming down Lily's cheeks now. I always felt like something was missing. Carmen was wonderful. She gave me everything she could, but there was always this sense that I belonged somewhere else, that there were people in the world who might be looking for me. I never stopped looking, William said quietly. I hired investigators, followed every lead, chased every rumor. I never stopped believing that somehow, someday, I'd find the truth about what happened to her. And now, Lily asked, now I have something I haven't had in 26 years, William said, squeezing her hand. I have hope, and I have you. Lily wiped her eyes with her free hand, her expression growing determined. Then let's get that safety deposit box. Let's find out what Carmen saved, and let's make sure the people who destroyed our family pay for what they did. William felt something shift inside his chest, a sense of purpose he hadn't experienced since Emily's death. Are you sure, once we start down this path, there's no going back? If Victor Malone killed Emily, if he's been living free for 26 years while we've been apart, then exposing him could be dangerous. He's already dangerous, Lily said, standing up with newfound resolve. He threatened me yesterday, and according to Carmen's letter, he's been a shadow over my life since the day I was born. It's time to step into the light. As they walked together toward William's car, he caught a glimpse of the pendant at Lily's throat, the heart-shaped locket that had started this journey, Emily's final gift to the daughter she'd never had a chance to raise. Lily, he said as they reached the cemetery gates, there's something you should know about that necklace. She touched it instinctively. What about it? I gave it to Emily as an engagement gift. It has our initials engraved on the back, WC+EP. He paused, emotion making his voice rough. If you look inside the locket, there should be a tiny photograph, Emily and me, taken the day I proposed. With trembling fingers, Lily opened the pendant. Inside, just as William had said, was a miniature photograph, a young couple radiating happiness, their faces bright with dreams of forever. "Oh my God," she whispered. "You're both so young, so happy." "We were," William said. "And maybe somehow we can be again. Not the same way, but..." He gestured between them. "This, us, the family Emily always wanted." Lily closed the locket and looked at him with eyes that held Emily's warmth and her own fierce determination. "Let's go get those answers, Dad." The word hit William like a lightning bolt. Dad, after 26 years of grief and loneliness, he was suddenly, impossibly, a father. Emily had given him the greatest gift imaginable, hope wrapped in the form of a daughter he'd never known he had. The Millbrook Savings Bank sat on Main Street like a remnant from a gentler time, its brick facade and brass nameplate speaking of small-town values and personal relationships. William parked his Mercedes in front, drawing curious looks from passers-by who weren't used to seeing luxury cars in their quiet community. Inside, Lily approached the customer service desk with Carmen's safety deposit box key clutched in her sweating palm. The bank manager, a kindly woman in her 60s named Mrs. Patterson, recognized Lily immediately. "Oh, sweetheart," she said warmly. "I haven't seen you since Carmen's funeral. How are you holding up out there on the farm?" "I'm managing, Mrs. Patterson. Actually, I need to access Carmen's safety deposit box. She left me the key and some instructions." Lily's voice was steadier than William had expected, given the emotional earthquake they'd both experienced in the cemetery. Mrs. Patterson's expression grew sympathetic. "Of course, dear. Carmen was very specific about that box when she rented it. Said it was for you, but only when the time was right." She glanced curiously at William. "This is your friend. This is William Crawford," Lily said, and William caught the slight emphasis on his last name. He's helping me understand some things about my family." If Mrs. Patterson recognized the Crawford name, and in a town this size, she probably did. She was too polite to mention it. She led them to the vault area, where rows of safety deposit boxes lined the walls like secrets waiting to be unlocked. "Box 247, Mrs. Patterson said, inserting her master key while Lily used Carmen's key. "Take all the time you need, honey. I'll be right outside if you need anything." The box was smaller than William had expected, but when Lily lifted the lid, it was packed with carefully preserved items. On top was an envelope marked, "For Lily's eyes only," in Carmen's familiar handwriting. Beneath that were items that made William's heart race. A tiny pink outfit, impossibly small, with what looked like bloodstains on the fabric. A hospital bracelet that read, "Baby girl, July 23rd, 1998, and a receipt from St. Mary's Medical Center dated the same day. "July 23rd, Lily whispered, holding up the hospital bracelet. "That must be when I was born," William calculated quickly. "Emily disappeared October 12th. If you were born July 23rd. Then she was held for..." His throat tightened. 9 months and 11 days. They kept her alive for the entire pregnancy. Lily opened Carmen's final letter with trembling hands. This one was different from the cemetery letter. More detailed, more specific, and clearly written by someone who'd spent years researching and piecing together fragments of truth. "Listen to this," Lily said, her voice growing stronger as she read. "My dearest Lily, if you're reading this, then you've discovered the truth about Emily Prescott. I've spent 20 years investigating her disappearance, and I believe I know what really happened." William leaned closer, reading over Lily's shoulder as she continued. "Emily worked as an accountant for George Whitaker's firm. Whitaker is now a state senator, but in 1998, he was just a city councilman with big ambitions and dirty money. I found newspaper articles about financial irregularities in his campaign, about connections to organized crime that were never fully investigated. Emily must have discovered something that threatened his political career." "George Whitaker," William repeated, the name stirring memories. "I remember him from the investigation. He gave a statement about Emily being under stress, about her being worried about fitting into my social circle. The police ate it up. The poor girl overwhelmed by her rich fiancé's world." Lily continued reading. "I hired a private investigator in 2005, used my life savings, but I had to know. He found records showing that Victor Malone worked as Whitaker's security consultant during the late 1990s. Malone's specialty was making problems disappear. The investigator also discovered that Emily had been asking questions about Whitaker's finances in the weeks before she vanished." William felt rage building in his chest. 26 years of grief crystallizing into fury. They killed her for asking questions, for doing her job. There's more, Lily said, turning the page. The investigator found something else. Medical records that were accidentally filed wrong. St. Mary's Hospital has records of treating a Jane Doe in July 1998. Young woman, approximately 26 years old, gave birth under traumatic circumstances. No family, no visitors. Discharge against medical advice after 2 days. The description matches Emily Prescott exactly. William's hands were shaking now. Emily had been at St. Mary's Hospital. She'd given birth to their daughter in a sterile room, surrounded by strangers, with no one to hold her hand or tell her everything would be okay. Carmen writes that she tried to find more information, but the hospital records were sealed. The investigator hit dead ends everywhere he turned, but he did find one thing. Whitaker's political career took off right after Emily's death. Suddenly, he had funding for bigger campaigns, connections to powerful people, influence that seemed to come out of nowhere. Built on blood money, William said grimly. Built on silencing the woman who could have exposed him. Lily pulled out a manila folder from the bottom of the safety deposit box. Carmen kept copies of everything the investigator found. Look at this. She spread documents across the small table. Financial records, newspaper clippings, photographs of Victor Malone and George Whitaker at political events. William studied a photograph from 1999, showing Whitaker at a campaign rally with Malone standing behind him like a bodyguard. Both men looked prosperous, confident, untouchable. They got away with it, he said quietly. They murdered Emily, stole our daughter, and built their lives on top of her grave. Not just their lives, Lily said, pointing to a more recent newspaper clipping. Look at this article from last year. Senator George Whitaker announcing his run for governor. And look who's listed as his campaign security director. William's blood turned to ice. Victor Malone's name was right there in black and white, along with his title and a photograph that showed how the years had been kind to him. Expensive suit, professional grooming, the look of a man who'd never suffered consequences for his actions. He's been using the same playbook for 26 years, William realized, making problems disappear, silencing witnesses, protecting Whitaker's interests, and now Whitaker's about to become governor. Lily was studying another document, a property deed with Victor Malone's name on it. My farm, she said suddenly. Look at this. The property taxes on my farm have been mysteriously increasing every year, driving me deeper into debt. And guess who's been buying up the surrounding land? William leaned over to see. Malone Holdings, LLC. He's been systematically forcing you into bankruptcy so he could take the farm. But why? It's just a small farm. Nothing special about it. William pulled out his phone and opened a mapping application, typing in the farm's address. What he saw made everything click into place. It's not about the farm, Lily. It's about the location. Look, he showed her the screen. Your property sits right between 2 major highways. With direct access to both, it's perfect for moving illegal goods, drugs, weapons, whatever Whitaker and Malone are trafficking these days. So they've been planning this for years, Lily said, her voice growing hard, keeping me in debt, waiting for the right moment to take the last thing I have left of Carmen's love. And when I interfered yesterday, when I paid your debt and started asking questions, William felt the pieces falling into place. I became a threat. We both did. Lily gathered the documents and photographs, her movements sharp with purpose. Carmen's investigator found one more thing, she said, pulling out a final piece of paper. A phone number. He said if anything ever happened to him, if his investigation was discovered, this person could help. Someone inside the FBI who's been building a case against political corruption. William looked at the number, memorizing it. We need to be careful if Whitaker and Malone have been operating for 26 years. They have connections, people on their payroll. We can't trust local law enforcement. But we can't do nothing, Lily said fiercely. They killed my mother. They stole 26 years of our lives. They're still out there, still hurting people, still getting away with it. William looked at his daughter, and God, it felt good to think those words, and saw Emily's fierce determination burning in her eyes. You're right, but we need to be smart about this. Malone is dangerous, and he knows we're connected now. He'll be watching, waiting for us to make a mistake. Then we don't make mistakes, Lily said simply. We gather evidence, we build an airtight case, and we make sure they pay for what they did to Emily, to us, to everyone they've hurt. William felt something he hadn't experienced in 26 years, a sense of purpose that went beyond grief, beyond mourning, for the first time since Emily's death. He had something to fight for instead of something to mourn. "There's something else we need to consider," he said carefully. "Once we start this fight, there's no going back. Malone and Whitaker won't hesitate to eliminate threats. They've done it before." Lily stood up, securing the documents in her purse with careful precision. "They already eliminated my mother. They've been manipulating my life since the day I was born. I'm done being their victim." She paused at the safety deposit box, looking at the tiny pink outfit one more time. Emily fought for the truth, and they killed her for it, but they made one mistake. They let me live. And now her daughter and the man who loved her are going to finish what she started. William closed the safety deposit box with a sense of finality. "Then let's get started. But first, we need to make sure you're safe. If Malone realizes how much we know, he'll come after us," Lily finished. "I know, but I'm not running anymore. I've been running from the truth my whole life without even knowing it. Carmen protected me as long as she could, but now it's time to protect myself, to protect Emily's memory." As they left the bank, William caught sight of their reflection in the glass doors. A father and daughter who'd found each other after 26 years of separation. United by love and loss and a burning need for justice, Emily's death had torn them apart, but Emily's love was bringing them back together. And this time, nothing. Not Victor Malone, not Senator George Whitaker, not all the dirty money and political corruption in the world was going to keep them from the truth. The hunt for justice was about to begin. Agent Sarah Chen had been investigating political corruption for 15 years, but the call she received that Wednesday afternoon was unlike anything in her case files. The voice on the other end was calm, controlled, and carried the weight of old money and older pain. "Agent Chen, my name is William Crawford. I believe you've been building a case against Senator George Whitaker." Chen sat up straighter in her Chicago FBI field office. The Crawford name was legendary in the city. Old money, political connections, the kind of family that could make or break careers with a phone call. "Mr. Crawford, I'm not sure what you're referring to. Carmen Bishop's private investigator gave her your number 7 years ago. She was researching the murder of Emily Prescott in 1998. I think it's time we talked." 3 hours later, William and Lily sat across from Agent Chen in a secure conference room. The FBI agent was younger than William had expected, maybe 40, with sharp eyes that missed nothing, and the kind of intensity that came from years of chasing criminals who thought they were untouchable. "I've been tracking Whitaker for 8 years, Chen said, spreading files across the table. "Money laundering, racketeering, connections to organized crime. But he's been careful, insulated. Every time we get close to something concrete, witnesses disappear or evidence gets compromised." William studied the photographs Chen laid out, surveillance shots of Whitaker meeting with known criminals, financial records showing suspicious transactions, a web of corruption that stretched across multiple states. "What about Victor Malone?" "Malone is Whitaker's attack dog," Chen said grimly. "Officially, he runs a legitimate security consulting firm. Unofficially, he's eliminated at least a dozen potential witnesses over the past 2 decades. We know he's responsible, but proving it is another matter entirely." Lily leaned forward, her voice steady despite the emotions William could see churning beneath the surface. "He killed my mother, Emily Prescott, and I think I can prove it." Chen's expression sharpened as Lily spread Carmen's evidence across the table. The hospital records, the photographs, the timeline that connected Emily's disappearance to Lily's birth. When Lily finished explaining, the FBI agent sat back in her chair, stunned. "My God," Chen whispered, "you're Emily Prescott's daughter, the daughter no one knew existed." "More than that," William said. "Lily is living proof that Emily didn't commit suicide. She was murdered after being held captive for 9 months. And if we can prove that, we can unravel Whitaker's entire empire," Chen finished. "Emily Prescott's case was the beginning. If we can prove Malone killed her on Whitaker's orders, we can connect them to every crime they've committed since." Chen pulled out a thick file labeled Operation Clean Slate. "We've been building a RICO case against Whitaker's organization, but we need someone on the inside, someone who can get close enough to record admissions of guilt." "I'll do it," Lily said immediately. Absolutely not, William said, his protective instincts flaring. I just found you. I'm not losing you to these monsters. But Chen was studying Lily with calculating eyes. It could work, she said slowly. Malone already knows you, already sees you as a potential victim. If we set it up right, make it look like you're desperate enough to make a deal. What kind of deal? Lily asked. Malone wants your farm. We know that from the property records. What if you approached him directly? Offered to sell it below market value in exchange for forgiveness of your debts. Make him think you're broken, defeated, ready to give up. William felt sick. You're talking about using my daughter as bait. I'm talking about giving Emily Prescott's daughter the chance to bring her mother's killers to justice, Chen said firmly. But only if Lily agrees, and only with every possible precaution in place. Lily was quiet for a long moment, her fingers unconsciously touching the pendant at her throat. When she spoke, her voice carried Emily's determination. What would I need to do? Chen pulled out a small device, no bigger than a button. This is a recording device, virtually undetectable. We wire you up, you meet with Malone, and you get him talking about the farm, about your family history, about anything that might make him incriminate himself. It's too dangerous, William protested. Malone isn't stupid. He survived 26 years by being paranoid and ruthless, which is exactly why this might work, Chen countered. He sees Lily as Emily's daughter, the child he helped create by murdering her mother. In his mind, she's already defeated, already under his control. His arrogance could be his downfall. Lily stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the Chicago skyline. Malone has been controlling my life since the day I was born. He murdered my mother. He gave me away like a piece of property, and now he's trying to steal the only home I've ever known. She turned back to face them. I want to do this. Lily, William started. Dad? She interrupted, and the words still sent electricity through his chest. Emily was brave enough to investigate Whitaker, even though she knew it was dangerous. She died trying to expose the truth. I can't be less brave than she was. Chen nodded approvingly. If we do this, we do it right. Full surveillance, backup teams, emergency extraction protocols. At the first sign of trouble, we pull you out. When? Lily asked. Soon. Malone's been watching you since William paid your debt. He knows something's changed, that you're not as isolated as he thought. We need to move before he gets suspicious enough to disappear. William felt the weight of 26 years pressing down on him. There has to be another way. Some other approach that doesn't put Lily in the line of fire. There isn't, Chen said bluntly. Whitaker and Malone have been untouchable for decades because they eliminate threats before those threats can materialize. But Lily isn't a threat to them. She's a victim they think they control. That makes her the perfect weapon. I need to think about this, William said. Don't think too long, Chen warned. Our intelligence suggests Whitaker is planning something big, something that could cement his power for the next decade. Once he becomes governor, he'll be even harder to touch. As they left the FBI building, William's mind was racing. He'd spent 26 years dreaming of justice for Emily, but not at the cost of losing the daughter he'd just found. You don't have to do this, he said as they walked to his car. We can find another way. What other way? Lily asked. Run, hide, let them win again. Live, William said simply. Build a life together. Be the family Emily wanted us to be. Lily stopped walking, turning to face him on the busy sidewalk. Dad, I love that you want to protect me. I love that I finally have someone who cares that much. But Emily didn't get to live. She didn't get to see me grow up. Didn't get to build the life she wanted. The least I can do is make sure her death meant something. William saw Emily in Lily's fierce expression. Heard Emily's voice in her daughter's words. She would be so proud of you, he said quietly. Then let me make her proud, Lily said. Let me finish what she started. That evening, they sat in William's penthouse apartment, planning the most dangerous gamble of their lives. Chen had provided detailed intelligence on Malone's habits, his business practices, his psychology. The man was a predator who enjoyed the hunt as much as the kill. He'll want to meet somewhere he controls, Chen had explained. Probably his office or a location where he feels safe. Your job is to make him feel like he's won, like you're completely at his mercy. And if something goes wrong, William had asked, then we abort. Lily's safety is our top priority. Now, as they sat reviewing the plan one more time, William felt the weight of fatherhood in a way he'd never experienced. For 26 years, he'd mourned his lost love and unknown child. Now he had a chance to be the father Emily had always believed he could be, and that meant letting their daughter make her own choices, even when those choices terrified him. "I want to record a message," Lily said suddenly. "Just in case." "Lily, for Emily," she clarified. "Something to leave at her grave if things don't go well. She deserves to know that her daughter tried to get justice for her." William nodded. Understanding. Emily had always believed in fighting for what was right, no matter the cost. Her daughter was about to prove that courage was hereditary. Tomorrow, they would put their plan into motion. Tomorrow, Emily Prescott's daughter would walk into the lion's den to face the man who had destroyed their family. Tomorrow, 26 years of silence would finally be broken. The weather seemed to mirror the tension building around them. Dark clouds had been gathering since dawn, and by afternoon, the sky looked like it was preparing for war. William stood at his penthouse window, watching lightning flicker in the distance while Lily reviewed her plan one final time. "Remember," Agent Chen's voice came through the encrypted phone. "You're desperate, defeated, and ready to give up everything. Malone needs to believe he's won before he'll let his guard down enough to talk." Lily nodded. Though Chen couldn't see her, the recording device was already in place. Invisible beneath her worn sweater, the FBI had backup teams positioned throughout the city, and William had his own security team on standby, despite Chen's protests about civilian interference. "I still don't like this," William said for the 10th time that day. "There are too many variables, too many things that could go wrong." "There are always variables," Lily replied, surprising him with her calm. "But Emily took a risk when she investigated Whitaker, and she paid for it with her life. If I don't take this risk, her death remains meaningless." At 3 p.m., Lily called Victor Malone's office, using the number from the business card he'd left with her. William listened from across the room as she put on a performance worthy of an Emmy. "Mr. Malone, this is Lily Bishop. We met the other day about my husband's debt." Her voice was small, defeated, exactly what a broken woman might sound like. I need to talk to you about the farm. I think I'm ready to make a deal." William could hear Malone's gravelly voice through the phone, though he couldn't make out the words. Whatever the man said made Lily's act even more convincing. "I know you wanted more time to think about it, but I can't sleep, can't eat. I keep thinking about what you said, about how I can't fight this forever." She paused, letting desperation creep into her voice. "Maybe you're right. Maybe it's time to accept reality." More conversation, and then Lily was writing down an address. "Tonight, are you sure? I mean, if that's what you want?" "Yes, sir. I'll be there at 8. She hung up and immediately looked at William. "He wants to meet tonight. Someplace called the Riverside Warehouse District. He says we can finalize everything there." William felt ice forming in his veins. The Warehouse District. That's where they found Emily's car 26 years ago. Chen's voice came through the phone speaker, sharp with concern. "That's not good. Remote location, multiple escape routes, dozens of places to hide a body. He's either being extra cautious or he's planning to silence the last witness to Emily's murder," William finished grimly. "We abort," Chen said immediately. "This is too dangerous. We'll find another way." "No," Lily's voice was firm. "This might be our only chance if we back out now. Malone will know something's wrong, he'll disappear, and we'll never get another opportunity like this." William was already reaching for his jacket. "Then I'm coming with you." "Absolutely not," Chen protested. This operation requires my daughter to walk into a trap set by my fiancé's killer," William interrupted. "I'm not letting her do it alone. Dad, you can't. If Malone sees you, he'll know this is a setup." William stopped, his hand on the doorknob. Lily was right, and he hated it. But 26 years of helplessness had taught him something about strategy. "Fine, but I'm going to be close enough to help if things go wrong." Chen's voice crackled through the phone. "Mr. Crawford, I understand your feelings, but civilian involvement could compromise." "Agent Chen," William said quietly, "with all due respect, this is my family, my daughter, my fiancé's murder. I'll stay back. I'll follow your protocols, but I'm going to be there." 3 hours later, as sunset painted the sky blood red, Lily sat in her car outside the warehouse district. The area had been abandoned for years, a maze of crumbling buildings and rusted machinery that the city couldn't afford to demolish, perfect for someone who wanted privacy for illegal activities. Through her earpiece, she could hear Agent Chen coordinating with the surveillance teams. Eagle 1, do you have eyes on the target location? Affirmative. Warehouse 17, southeast corner. 2 vehicles in the lot, both registered to Malone Holdings. William's voice came through on a separate channel, calm but tense. Lily, you don't have to do this. We can still call it off. I know, she replied softly. But I'm going to do it anyway, for Emily, for us, for everyone they've hurt. She got out of her car and walked toward the warehouse, her footsteps echoing in the empty lot. Rain had started to fall, light at first but steadily increasing. By the time she reached the entrance, water was dripping from her hair and running down her cheeks like tears. The warehouse door was heavy, rusted, and opened with a screech that made her skin crawl. Inside, the space was vast and dark, lit only by a few bare bulbs hanging from the ceiling. Victor Malone stood in the center of the space, no longer bothering with the expensive suits and polished appearance he maintained in public. Here, in his element, he looked like what he truly was, a predator. Mrs. Bishop, he said, his voice echoing in the empty space. Right on time. I like punctuality in my business associates. Lily walked toward him, forcing herself to appear small and defeated. I brought the deed to the farm, like you asked, and I signed the papers transferring ownership to your company. Smart girl, your mother raised you right. Malone took the papers, glancing at them briefly before setting them aside. Though, I suppose Carmen wasn't really your mother, was she? Lily's blood turned cold, but she forced herself to stay in character. I don't know what you mean. Course you don't, Malone chuckled. Tell me, sweetheart, what do you know about your real parents? The ones who gave you away? Nothing. Carmen said they died when I was a baby. Carmen lied. Malone began walking around her in a circle, like a shark sizing up its prey. Your real mother was a nosy little accountant who stuck her nose where it didn't belong. And your father, well, let's just say he's been looking for you for a very long time. Through her earpiece, Lily could hear Agent Chen's voice. He's talking, keep him going. I don't understand, Lily said, letting confusion and fear color her voice. Your mother discovered some financial irregularities at the company where she worked. Nothing major, just some creative bookkeeping for a friend of mine. But she couldn't leave it alone. Kept digging, kept asking questions. Malone stopped directly in front of her. So we had to make her stop. Stop what? Lily whispered. Breathing. Malone's smile was all teeth and malice. Though we kept her alive long enough for you to be born, couldn't waste a perfectly good bargaining chip, could we? Lily felt sick, but she forced herself to keep listening, to keep recording. You killed my mother. I disposed of a problem. Your mother, Emily Prescott, was threatening the political career of a very important man. Senator George Whitaker has big plans, sweetheart. And your mother's inconvenient sense of justice was going to ruin everything. Through her earpiece, Lily heard William's sharp intake of breath. 26 years of suspicion had just been confirmed by the killer's own words. But why tell me this? Lily asked. Why not just take the farm and let me go? Malone's expression shifted, becoming something darker and more dangerous. Because, my dear, you've become a problem yourself. See? Your little scene in the town square the other day got some people asking questions. Questions about you, about your connection to certain wealthy families, about why someone would pay your debts without expecting anything in return. Lily's heart began to race. I don't know what you're talking about. William Crawford, Malone said, and the name hung in the air like a curse. Your mother's fiancé, the man who's been obsessed with finding her killer for 26 years. Imagine my surprise when I learned he'd taken an interest in you. He was just being kind. He was being stupid, Malone interrupted. And so were you, if you thought I wouldn't notice the resemblance. You look just like your mother, sweetheart. Same eyes, same stubborn chin, same misguided sense of righteousness. Lightning flashed outside, illuminating the warehouse in stark relief. In that moment, Lily saw the truth in Malone's eyes. He'd known who she was from the beginning. This had never been about business or debt collection. This had been about eliminating the last loose end from a 26-year-old murder. Agent Chen, Lily whispered into her microphone. I think we have a problem. But her earpiece had gone silent. No voices, no static, nothing. Malone pulled a small electronic device from his pocket and held it up. Signal jammer, very effective against wiretaps and communication devices. FBI technology isn't as advanced as they like to think. Terror flooded through Lily as she realized the truth. The warehouse was shielded, her backup was cut off, and she was alone with her mother's killer. Now then, Malone said, pulling a gun from his jacket. Let's talk about how this is going to end. Just like it ended for your mother 26 years ago. Outside, the storm that had been building all day finally broke, sending thunder rolling across the sky like the sound of gods going to war. Inside the warehouse, Emily Prescott's daughter faced the man who had destroyed her family, knowing that the next few minutes would determine whether justice would finally be served or whether the sins of the past would claim another generation. The recording device beneath her sweater continued to capture every word, even as hope began to slip away like rain through her fingers. The silence in William's earpiece was deafening. One moment he'd been listening to Lily's conversation with Malone, heart pounding as the killer confessed to Emily's murder. And the next, nothing but static. Agent Chen, William barked into his radio. What's happening? I've lost contact with Lily. Chen's voice crackled back, tense with urgency. Signal's been jammed. All communication with the target location is down. We're moving in now. But William was already running toward his car, his security team scrambling to keep up. 26 years of helplessness crystallized into a moment of absolute clarity. His daughter was in mortal danger, and he'd be damned if he'd lose her the same way he'd lost Emily. Sir, please wait for backup, his head of security, Marcus, called out, as William tore through the rain toward the warehouse district. No time, William shouted back. Follow me, but don't wait for me. Inside the warehouse, Lily stared down the barrel of Malone's gun, while lightning strobed through the broken windows above. The recording device beneath her sweater felt burning hot against her skin, still capturing evidence even as her world collapsed around her. You know what your problem is, sweetheart, Malone said, his voice echoing in the cavernous space. Same problem your mother had. You think truth and justice actually matter in this world? They do matter, Lily said, surprised by the steadiness of her own voice. That's why you've spent 26 years running from them, Malone laughed, but there was no humor in it. Running, honey. I've been winning. Your mother's dead. Her investigation buried with her. Senator Whitaker is about to become Governor Whitaker. And I'm richer than I ever dreamed. If that's running, I'll take it. But you never found peace, did you? Lily pressed, something in her voice channeling Emily's fearless spirit. 26 years, and you're still killing people to protect secrets. Still looking over your shoulder. Still afraid that someone like me might show up and expose everything. The gun wavered slightly in Malone's hand. You think you're clever, like your mother did. She thought she could outsmart us too, right up until I threw her in that river. Tell me what happened, Lily said quietly. Tell me how she died. Malone's eyes gleamed with sadistic pleasure. You really want to know? Your precious mother spent 9 months chained in a basement, growing bigger and bigger with you, begging me to let her go, promising she'd never tell anyone what she'd seen. Lily felt tears starting, but she forced herself to listen, to record every horrific detail. When you were born, she was so weak she could barely hold you, but she kept whispering your name. Lily. 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 Like saying it enough times would keep you safe. Malone stepped closer, the gun now inches from Lily's chest. Then I ripped you out of her arms and gave you to Carmen. Your mother's last words were begging me to tell you she loved you. You bastard, Lily whispered. But even through her tears, she could see that Malone was confessing everything. The recording device was capturing it all. Emily's captivity, the circumstances of Lily's birth, the cold-blooded murder that followed. Emily Prescott died believing her daughter would grow up loved and safe. Malone continued. If she could see you now, about to die in the same place where I dumped her body, well, it would break her heart all over again. That's when Lily understood. They weren't just in any warehouse. They were in the building where Emily had been held captive, the place where she'd given birth, where she'd spent her final moments begging for her daughter's life. This is where you kept her, Lily said, looking around the cavernous space with new eyes. Smart girl, This whole building belonged to Whitaker back then. Perfect place to store inconvenient problems. Malone gestured toward a corner where rusted chains still hung from the wall. Your mother lived right over there for 9 months. Funny how things come full circle, isn't it? Rage flowed through Lily like molten steel. This monster had tortured her mother in this very room, had chained her like an animal while she carried the child that would never know her voice, her touch, her love. You're going to pay for what you did to her, Lily said. And for the first time, her voice carried real threat. With what? FBI evidence, honey. That recording device you're wearing stopped transmitting the moment I turned on the jammer, and your backup, they'll find your body next to Crawford's when this is all over. What do you mean next to Williams? Malone smiled, the expression transforming his face into something demonic. You didn't think we'd let Daddy live either, did you? He's been a problem for 26 years. Always pushing, always investigating. Senator Whitaker wants this wrapped up clean before the election. Terror flooded through Lily. If you hurt him, you'll what? You're about to be just as dead as your mother. That's when the warehouse door exploded inward. William Crawford burst through the entrance like an avenging angel, rain streaming from his coat, his eyes blazing with 26 years of accumulated fury. Behind him came Marcus and 2 other security operatives, their weapons drawn. Get away from my daughter! William roared, his voice echoing off the warehouse walls. Malone spun toward the new threat, momentarily distracted. It was the opening Lily needed, remembering self-defense classes Carmen had insisted she take. She lunged forward and grabbed Malone's gun hand, forcing it upward just as he pulled the trigger. The shot went wild, ricocheting off a steel beam as Lily and Malone struggled for control of the weapon. She was smaller than he was, but desperation and righteous anger gave her strength she didn't know she possessed. Lily. William started toward them, but Malone managed to break free and swing the gun back toward her. Stay back, Crawford, or I'll paint these walls with your daughter's blood. William froze, his hands raised, but his security team was already moving to flank positions. Marcus had a clear shot at Malone, but with Lily so close, the risk was too great. You killed Emily, William said, his voice deadly calm. You murdered the woman I loved and stole my child. Why? Because she was in the way, Malone snarled. Because people like you think your money and your principles matter more than real power. Whitaker offered me a fortune to make the problem disappear, and I delivered. And now, what's Whitaker offering you to kill us? The governor's mansion. When he wins the election next month, I become head of state security, legitimate power, federal protection, immunity from prosecution. Malone's grip tightened on the gun. All I have to do is clean up the last loose ends from 1998. Lightning flashed again, and in that stark illumination, Lily saw something that made her heart race. Agent Chen and a team of FBI operatives were creeping through the shadows near the back entrance, moving with tactical precision despite the communications blackout. But Malone saw them too. FBI, he shouted, swinging his gun wildly between targets. Should have known you'd bring the cavalry, Crawford. But it doesn't matter. You're all going to die here, and the official report will say you were killed in a drug deal gone wrong. Amazing what kind of evidence we can plant when we need to. That's when Lily made her move, as Malone's attention fractured between multiple threats. She dove toward the corner where those rusted chains still hung from the wall. Emily's prison, now her daughter's weapon. Wrapping her hands around a length of heavy chain, Lily swung it with all her strength toward Malone's gun hand. The metal struck his wrist with a sickening crack, and the weapon went flying across the concrete floor. Now! William shouted. Marcus put 2 shots center mass into Malone's chest, dropping him to the warehouse floor. The FBI team swarmed the building, securing the scene while Agent Chen rushed to check on Lily. Are you hurt? Chen asked, running her hands over Lily's arms and shoulders, checking for injuries. I'm okay, Lily said, though she was shaking like a leaf. But the recording, did we get it? Did we get his confession? Chen smiled grimly, pulling out a small device. The jammer only blocked transmission, not recording. We got every word. William reached Lily's side and pulled her into his arms, holding her tight enough to convince himself she was really alive, really safe. I'm so sorry, he whispered. I'm sorry I let you do this alone. I wasn't alone, Lily said. looking around at the FBI agents, at William's security team, at the father who'd moved heaven and earth to save her. Emily was with me. I could feel her here, in this place. She was helping me fight. Agent Chen knelt beside Malone's body, checking for a pulse she already knew she wouldn't find. "It's over," she said quietly. "Victor Malone is dead, and we have everything we need to bring down Whitaker's entire organization." As if summoned by her words, Chen's radio crackled to life. "Agent Chen, this is command. Senator George Whitaker has just been arrested at his campaign headquarters. We're executing warrants on all his properties and financial accounts." William looked down at Malone's lifeless body, feeling a strange mixture of satisfaction and emptiness. 26 years, he said quietly. 26 years Emily waited for justice. Lily touched the pendant at her throat, thinking of the woman she'd never known but whose love had shaped every day of her life. She doesn't have to wait anymore. Outside, the storm was finally breaking, rain giving way to clear skies as dawn approached. Inside the warehouse where Emily Prescott had died, her daughter and the man who'd loved them both stood together, finally free from the shadows that had haunted them for so long. Justice, it turned out, was worth waiting for. 3 months later, the autumn sun cast golden light through the stained glass windows of St. Michael's Cathedral as reporters gathered outside, their cameras focused on the courthouse steps across the street. Today was the day George Whitaker would be sentenced for conspiracy, racketeering, and accessory to murder. The former senator's political career had crumbled spectacularly in the weeks following Victor Malone's death and the release of Lily's recording. But William Crawford wasn't thinking about Whitaker as he stood in the cathedral's small chapel. His attention was entirely focused on the old brick wall where construction workers had made an extraordinary discovery. "It's definitely her handwriting," Agent Chen said quietly, studying the faded words scratched into the mortar between 2 bricks. "We compared it to Emily's employment records and personal letters. This is authentic." William traced the barely visible letters with his fingertip. William plus Lily. Eternal love, below it, in Emily's careful script, were the words that had brought him to his knees when the workers first uncovered them. "If you're reading this, then love found a way. Take care of our daughter. Tell her I never stopped believing you would find each other." "She knew," Lily whispered, standing beside him with tears streaming down her face. "Somehow she knew we would end up here together." The chapel where they stood had been built on the foundation of the old warehouse where Emily died. When the city finally demolished the building to make way for urban renewal, they'd discovered that Emily had managed to scratch her final message into what would become the cornerstone of something beautiful, a place of hope and healing, rising from the ashes of tragedy. The construction foreman said there were other marks too, Chen continued, consulting her notes. Tally marks on the walls, probably counting days. And this, she handed William a small object wrapped in evidence tape. They found it buried beneath where the message was carved. William's hands trembled as he unwrapped Emily's engagement ring. The simple diamond solitaire he'd chosen because she'd said she wanted something that would remind her of their love every time she looked at it. The ring they'd never had a chance to exchange at their wedding. "She hid it," Lily said wonderingly. She knew Malone would try to make it look like suicide, so she hid the ring and left the message where someone might find it someday. 26 years, William murmured. "She waited 26 years for us to find it." Agent Chen cleared her throat gently. "I'll leave you two alone for a few minutes. The dedication ceremony starts at noon." As Chen's footsteps echoed away, William and Lily stood in the quiet chapel, surrounded by Emily's presence in a way that felt almost tangible. The Emily Prescott Memorial Chapel had been William's idea, a place where families torn apart by violence could come for healing and hope. It seemed fitting that Emily's final message had been discovered in the very space dedicated to her memory. "I brought something," Lily said, pulling a small frame from her purse. Inside was a photograph of the 3 of them, William, Emily, and baby Lily, that a talented artist had created by combining pictures from Emily's pregnancy with more recent photos of William and Lily together. It wasn't real, but it captured something true, the family they should have been, the love that had transcended death itself. "She would have loved seeing us together like this," William said, studying the image. "All those conversations we had about having children, about what kind of parents we'd be. She had such dreams about our family, Maybe those dreams came true after all, Lily said, just not the way she expected. William pulled out his own offering, a letter he'd written to Emily every year on the anniversary of her death. 26 letters, chronicling his grief, his search for answers, his slow healing, and finally, the miracle of finding their daughter. "I want to read this one to her," he said. "The last letter I'll ever need to write." Lily nodded, taking his hand as he unfolded the most recent letter. "My dearest Emily," William began, his voice steady despite the emotion in his words. 26 years ago, I thought I'd lost everything when I lost you. I thought love had died with you in that river. That hope was buried with you in Graceland Cemetery. I was wrong." His voice grew stronger as he continued. "You didn't just leave me our daughter. You left me a piece of yourself that would guide me back to love, back to family, back to the man you always believed I could be. Lily has your courage, your compassion, your stubborn refusal to let injustice go unpunished. Looking at her is like looking at the best parts of both of us." Lily squeezed his hand, tears flowing freely now. "I want you to know that Malone and Whitaker paid for what they did to you. To us, to our family. But more than that, I want you to know that your sacrifice wasn't meaningless. Lily grew up loved, protected, raised by a woman who saw the good in everyone just like you did. Carmen Bishop was the mother you couldn't be, and she did it with the same grace and strength you would have shown." William paused, looking at the words Emily had carved into the wall. "You were right, my love. Love did find a way. It brought our daughter back to me when I needed her most, and it brought me back to life when I thought I was beyond saving. Our family isn't what we planned, but it's real, and it's ours, and it's beautiful." He folded the letter carefully. "I won't write to you anymore, Emily. Not because I'm forgetting you, but because I finally understand that you're not gone. You're in every smile Lily gives me, every moment of courage she shows, every act of kindness she performs. You're in the love that brought us together, and the love that will keep us together for whatever time we have left." Lily opened the small locket at her throat, Emily's locket, now holding pictures of all three of them. "I have something to say too," she said quietly. She knelt beside Emily's message, placing her hand on the carved words. "Mom, I'm sorry it took me so long to find you. I'm sorry you had to die alone, thinking I might never know how much you loved me. But I want you to know that I felt your love my whole life, even when I didn't understand where it came from." Her voice grew stronger, more confident. "Carmen told me stories about guardian angels, about how love never really dies. I thought they were just fairy tales until I met Dad. The way he looked at me that first day in the rain, I knew instantly that I'd been waiting my whole life for that moment." "You guided me to him, didn't you? You made sure we'd find each other." William knelt beside her, both of them now touching Emily's final message. "And I want you to know," Lily continued, "that your daughter turned out okay. I'm strong because you were strong. I fight for justice because you fought for justice. I believe in love because you showed me what real love looks like. Love that sacrifices everything. Love that endures beyond death. Love that finds a way." The chapel bells began to chime, signaling that the dedication ceremony was about to begin. Outside, William could hear voices gathering, members of the community, survivors of violence, families who had found healing in this place, built on the foundation of Emily's courage. "One more thing," William said, pulling Emily's engagement ring from his pocket. "I want you to have this back. You hid it to protect the truth, and now the truth has set us all free." He placed the ring in a small alcove beside Emily's message, where it would remain as part of the permanent memorial. The ring that had symbolized a promise broken by violence now represented a love that had conquered even death. As they stood to leave, Lily took one last look at her mother's words. William plus Lily, eternal love. She was right, Lily said simply. We do equal eternal love. Maybe not the kind she expected, but the kind that matters most. The love of family, found and cherished and protected. William put his arm around his daughter as they walked toward the chapel entrance, where hundreds of people waited to honor Emily's memory and celebrate the healing that could rise from even the deepest tragedy. Behind them, sunlight streamed through the stained glass windows, illuminating Emily's final message in brilliant colors. The words seemed to glow with their own inner light. a testament to a love that had guided two broken hearts back to each other across 26 years of darkness. Outside, Agent Chen was waiting with news that George Whitaker had been sentenced to life in prison without parole. Justice, finally and completely served. But inside the Emily Prescott Memorial Chapel, justice felt less important than love. The eternal love of a woman who had died protecting her daughter, the enduring love of a man who had never stopped searching, and the growing love of a father and daughter who had found in each other the family that fate had always intended them to be. Emily's chain of love, forged in sacrifice and tempered by time, had brought them home at last.